Ohalos, you want to start with Yud Gimel or Yud Gimel's good? Okay. If part of a tumor is in the house and part of it is the opposite of the skylight, the house becomes tamei, and whatever is opposite the tumor also becomes tamei. These are the words of Reb Meir. Reb Yehuda says the house becomes tamei, but whatever is opposite the skylight remains tahor. Reb Yossi says that the tumor is large enough that when divided in half, it can contaminate both the house and whatever is opposite the tumor. They are both tamei. If not, the house becomes tamei, and whatever is opposite the tumor is tahor. If there are two skylights, one above the other, each the size of a square handbreadth, and tumor is in the house, whatever is directly opposite the skylights remain tahor. If the tumor is directly opposite the skylights, the house remains tahor. If the tumor is either in the house or directly opposite the skylights, and an item susceptible to tumor is placed over either the upper or the lower skylight, everything becomes tamei. If an item not susceptible to tumor is placed over the skylight, whatever is below the item becomes tamei, and whatever is above remains tahor. If the skylights are smaller than a handbreadth and tumor is in the house, whatever is directly opposite the skylights remains tahor. If the tumor is directly opposite the skylights, the house remains tahor. If tumor is in the house and an item either susceptible to tumor or not is placed over either the upper or lower skylight, only the lower story becomes tamei. If the tumor is directly opposite the skylight and an item susceptible to tumor is placed over either the upper or lower skylight, everything becomes tamei. Okay. If an item not susceptible to tumor is placed over either the upper or lower skylight, only the lower story becomes tamei.
Okay.
All right.
Right. Continuing the stories of the skylights. So you've got the skylight in the roof. Now you've got a pot underneath it. Okay. And if you had to raise the pot, so in terms of the vertical line, if you had to lift the pot directly up towards the skylight, then and it wouldn't, and its lips, the edge would not touch the skylight. In other words, it would fit through the window. Okay, but extremely tightly. Okay. So what happens if you have tumor either underneath the pot? So if the tumor is underneath the pot, so remember, if it's sitting on the floor, that's a tumor ritzutza, and it's just going to break through and go up all the way up. Okay.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Or if it's inside the pot, the same thing. It's just going to go up and down. Okay. Or algab, or even above it. So whatever tumor bukas or la bukas already. So the tumor just goes straight up and down in the line of the pot and out through the skylight. Okay. Now, what happens if the pot is elevated above the floor by a tefach? So now what happens? The bottom of the pot now becomes an ohel that can spread tumor but not block it. Okay, because it's a kli, kalim can only spread tumor; they cannot block tumor.
All right.
Okay, so now if it's above the ground by a tefach, tumor tachteha. If the tumor is underneath it, then what's the tumor going to do? It's going to spread underneath it, and it's going to reach into the house. Similarly, if it's in the house, it's going to spread to underneath the pot. Then everything underneath it and the house become tamei. However, the pot itself remains as if it's like right up against the skylight, so that the interior of the skylight and above it remain tahor. It's only the part that's underneath it that becomes tahor, the rest of the house. Okay. But what happens if the tumor is inside the pot or above it? Then the pot again cannot block tumor because the pot itself is going to become tamei. So even if it's a kli cheres that is impervious to tumor from outside, but if the tumor is inside it, then it becomes tamei. So the tumor in its airspace makes it tamei, and it cannot block tumor. And therefore, once once the tumor penetrates through it, it's now underneath the ohel formed by its base, which then spreads into the rest of the house. Okay, so then everything becomes tamei, both above and below, because once it spreads underneath the bottom, it's not just the vertical line of the tumor that goes up; it's everything that's underneath it that goes up.
It goes around.
Again, Mishna Zayin, Aisenasuna Betsada is kupa. What happens if the pot is on the doorstep? Okay, so it's just on the outside of the house. So if you had to elevate it, the pot would have an overlap with the lintel of a tefach.
Right.
It means that you have a continuation of the space between the lintel and the pot. That tefach is necessary for the tumah to spread. The tumah can't spread in less than a tefach. Okay. Tumah tachteha, what happens again? If the pot is resting on the ground and the tumah is directly underneath it, besocha or al gaba, tumah bokas or ala bokas yured. It's the same story as always. If it's on the ground, the tumah just breaks through it and works in the vertical line, and the rest of it is outdoors, so there's nowhere for it to spread. However, if it's elevated above the ground by a tefach, tumah tachteha or babayis. Now, what happens if the tumah is underneath it or in the house? Okay, then once again, the bottom forms an ohel, which joins with the ohel of the house. Then tachteha babayis tameh. Then underneath it and the house become tameh because they're all joined in the same space, because there's that tefach of space overlap between it and the lintel. Okay. So then, but since the pot itself is tahor, and it blocks the tumah from going up because it is impervious to tumah from the outside. So it forms underneath it, but it also blocks the tumah from going up. Okay. Hakol betzocha or gaba. However, if the tumah is inside the pot or above it, then the tumah spreads through the pot down to the bottom, and then it's under the ohel of the pot, which means it spreads all over, and now the tumah cannot be blocked by the tameh pot, and it goes back up again. So everywhere is tameh. Okay, now what happens if the pot is just barely touching the lintel in terms of vertical space? Right, so if you had to raise it, it's got less than a tefach joining between it and the cover of the house. Or if it's actually stuck to the mashkof, then all that happens is that if there's tumah underneath it, it'll spread underneath it because it can form the ohel to spread the tumah underneath it. But because it doesn't have a tefach to join onto the house, the tumah won't spread into the house because you need a tefach for the tumah to spread. Okay. Okay. Next chapter. Okay. Here's the case. You've got a house, and for simplicity's sake, this house consists of two rooms. There's an inner room and an outer room, and the front door is going from the outer room. But between the inner room, between the inside of the house, in fact, we're gonna say it's even one room. It's just one. It's a hall that's got it's got walls and a roof, but the roof is cracked all the way across. Okay, so there's a gap in the roof going all the way across from one side to the other, and the door goes across. Okay, have you got a diagram of that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Tumah bachutz. What happens if there's tumah inside the external side of the, okay? Kalim shebifnim torim, then everything that's on the inner side remains tahor because the tumah will want to escape. Tumah bifnim, if the tumah is on the inner side of the inside of the structure that's cracked, kalim shebachutz. Now what's going to happen with the kalim on the outside? They say the crack doesn't help to keep them tahor unless it's 4 tvachim wide, which is the size that you need in order to take out a mace. Okay. Beis Hillel omrim kol shehu. They say not any size crack is enough to let the tumah out, and of course the halacha follows Beis Hillel. So they say that that even if it's tiny crack, not even a tefach, I don't think. Right? Yeah, he says so. Yeah, according to Tosefta, according to Beis Hillel, the minimum shear is the thread of a plummet line. Okay, so that's very, very, very thin.
Yeah.
But if it's less than that, then that's microscopic, and tumah can't escape through that. Rabbi Yossi Omer Mishum Beis Hillel. Rabbi Yossi's opinion of Beis Hillel is at least a tefach. Okay.
Right.
So, nonetheless, the halacha follows the Tanna Kamma's interpretation of Beis Hillel, which is any amount, and that's a fascinating thing to me, because if you'd asked me from the outset, I would have said like Rabbi Yossi, because I'd say like Tuma needs a tefach to escape. Why is this case different when the ceiling is cracked from if there was a window? We say that if there's like Tuma, if you want Tuma to escape through a window, the window has to be at least a tefach. So why is the crack in the ceiling why is the crack in the ceiling sufficient to let the Tuma out if it's not a tefach wide? So I don't know about that, and I'll have to get back to you on that, unless you have something in your commentary that explains the difference.
No, I didn't see anything.
Okay, so let's do Chazara for as long as we can.
Okay, Ches Daled.
Yes, Daled.
There are items that act as barriers against tumah but do not convey tumah. A loom that is already for weaving the ropes of a bed, garbage baskets, and window bars. These items neither convey tumah nor act as a barrier against tumah. Seeds and plants that are connected to the ground, other than the plants listed above: hailstones, snow, frost, ice, salt, an animal that jumps from one spot to another, a person who jumps from one spot to another, a bird that flies, a garment that flutters, and a ship that sails on water. But if the ship was tied with something that can hold it in place, or a stone was placed on the garment, it conveys tumah. Biyosi says a house on a ship does not convey tumah. So if two steel barrels, each containing a piece of corpse the half size of an olive, are located inside a house, the barrels remain tahor, but the house remains tameh. If one of the barrels were open, the barrel and the room are tameh, but the other barrel remains tahor. Yeah, similar rooming applies to two chambers that open into a room. Okay.
That's it.
That's it. Okay. And we are on through Kalim. Okay. Kalim above face. A drawstring purse with drawstrings removed in his tummy. If it was flattened out to his tahor, if one attached a patch on its underside, it is tummy. Regarding a purse within a purse, one of which is tummy, through contact with tummy liquid, the other does not become tummy. The wrap of a diamond is tummy, and as for the wrap of coins, Eliezer rules the tummy, but the sages use the tahor. A mid of branch gatherers, this tahor is known, and a nipet are tummy, work sleeves are tummy, but headbands are tahor. All gloves that are tahor, except for those that are the branch gatherers, because it is used to contain the sumac berry. However, if it tore, it cannot hold most of the tumak berry. It is tahor. A sandal, one of whose side flaps tore off and one repaired it, is tamei midrash. The second side flap tears off and one repaired it. The sandal is tahor from midrash tuma, but it is tamei due to contact with the midrash. If one did not manage to repair the first side flap before the second one tore off, the sandal is tahor. And if a heel place tore off or the toe piece was removed or is split in two, it is tahor. A solemn that tore in any way is tahor. Regarding a shoe that tore, if it cannot contain most of the foot, it's tamei. Foot is tahor. Regarding a shoe that is the last, Reb Eliezer rules a tahor, but the sages rule it tamei. All water skins are tahor except the one of the Arabs. Rameir says those tied with a temporary binding are tahor, and those tied with a permanent binding are tamei. Reb Yossi says all tied water skins are tahor. Okay.
Hey.
That's it.
That's
okay. It. We are on to Talmud. Okay. Hey. Whoever has won the privilege of the shovel service took the silver shovel and ascended to the top of the outer altar and cleared away the coals to the sides so that the side and scooped out from the inner coals. Let's skip something here. Inner coals. He descended and poured 3 coals into the shovel of gold. About a cup of coals would become scattered from it, and he would sweep them into the stream. And on the Sabbath, he would revert the copper pot over them. The copper pot was a large vessel which holds a leash, and 2 chains were connected to the copper pot. One chain that a Kohen would pull on the pot would descend, and one chain a Kohen would hold on to from above so that the pot would not roll. It served 3 purposes. They inverted over the coals and of the dead chariots on the Sabbath, and lowered the ash from the top of the altar in it. They reached the area between the antechamber and the altar. One Kohen took the shovel and threw it between the antechamber and the altar, and the person could not hear the voice of the fellow in Jerusalem due to the sound of the shovel. And the sound served 3 purposes. The Kohen heard the sound would know that his brethren, the Kohanim, would be entering the Hekel to prostrate themselves, and he would run and come. And the Levi who heard the sound would know that his brethren, the Levium, would entering the court, run to hear the chant the song, and he would run and come. And the head of the Mamad would post the Talmud Kohen on the eastern gateway to the temple mouth. They began ascending the steps of the antechamber. The 2 Kohanim who won the privilege of clearing the ash in the inner altar and from the menorah would go ahead of them. The Kohen who won the privilege of clearing the ash in the inner altar entered the Hekel and took the basket and prostrated himself and exited. The Kohen who won the privilege of clearing the ash from the menorah entered the Hekel. And if he found the 2 easternmost lamps burning, he would clear the ash of the eastern lamp and would leave the western lamp burning, because from it the Kohen would kindle the other lamps of the menorah in the evening. If he found the western lamp went out, and it would clear its ash and clear light from the fire of the altar, he took the jug from the second step and prostrated himself and exited. Okay.
Okay.
And we are on to Avodah Zorah.
First, last Mishnah in Adios.
All right, keep that one first. Okay. Zion. Rabbi Yeshua said, I have a tradition from Rabbi Zokan ben Zakkai, who heard it from his teacher, and from a teacher from his teacher, as the Lord taught orally to Moshe at Sinai, that Eliyahu will not come to declare impure or pure, or to distance or to draw near. Rather, Eliyahu will not to distance those who were drawn near through force, and draw near those who were distant by force. There was a family by the name of Tzfara on the east bank of the Jordan, and Ben Zion distanced its members by force, and there was another family there, and Ben Zion drew them near with force. Like these, Eliyahu will come to declare pure and impure, impure and pure distance from or draw near. The Yehuda says he will come and draw near, not to distance. The Shimon says he will come to reconcile the difference of opinion, and the Kakaman say he will come neither to distance nor to draw near, but only to make peace in the world. As it states, behold, I send you Eliyahu the prophet, etc., prophet, before the coming of the great and awesome day of Hashem, and he will reconcile the hearts of the fathers to the sons, and the hearts of the sons to the fathers. Okay. And now we are to the Zohar. Avodah Zorah says, preceding the festivals, the calamities of idolaters for 3 days is forbidden to transact business. Take and give with them, to lend them articles, and to borrow articles from them, to lend them money, or to borrow money from them, to repay a debt, or to accept repayments from them. Rabbi Yehuda says we may accept repayments from them since it causes him distress. They said to him, enough, though it causes him distress, now he rejoices afterwards. Rabbi Yishmael says it is forbidden for 3 days preceding them and for 3 days following them. But the sages say before the festivals it is forbidden, but after the festivals it is permitted.
We're done there, and I'm going to leave you to do Chagiga and
Okay. See you tomorrow. Have a good day. I'll have to figure out. I'll call you later maybe to figure this out. Okay. Bye.